Lupa, the crazy girl that bounces around cutely and probably bathes in her enemy's blood. She's finally here, and today I've got a complete Lupa guide where I'll go through her kit, build, combos, teams, and everything in between. Do know that I've included all my sources in the description down below. And yep, let's dive right into it. To start with the conclusion, Lupa is like the shorekeeper equivalent of the fusion team in Wuthering Waves. She provides massive amounts of team-wide fusion damage bonus, attack bonus, and she even comes with team-wide fusion resistance ignore on the enemy, which is very rare. To top it all off, she provides solid survival utility and supportive damage utility like her follow-up attack mechanic after using her liberation. The best use case for her will be in the mono fusion team of Lupa, Changli, and Brant, which has insane skill ceiling, but if you master it, your whole team will be like flying around with Lupa and Brant. It looks insane. Additionally, Lupa can still be used as a staple support slash sub DPS for any other fusion damage dealers. That can include someone like Encore or even Shisia. With that said, let's take a look at an overview of how Lupa is played. Thankfully, she's quite simple to play with. You mainly want to start by using your ultimate and instantly start spamming normal attacks. Doing so allows Lupa to enter the burning match point state, which simply allows you to gain more forte with your normal attacks. Once your forte is maxed, you want to continue to use your basics. If you do it right now, you will still be mid-air, and if you do mid-air attacks right now, it will convert your forte to an enhanced forte as shown with this wolf icon on the forte bar. Once you get 2 of the wolf icons, your enhanced skill will now be available. Use that, and you're free to swap out as you max your concerta. To dumb this down even further, you really just have to swap her in, use your ultimate, do 5 normal attacks, then do enhanced skill, and yeah, that is all she needs to do to maximize her kit, and you'll obtain most of her benefits at this point. We'll show her full general combo in the team later in the video, but to explain where her buffs happen, just by using her ultimate, you will obtain team-wide fusion damage bonus, fusion resistance ignoring, attack percent bonus, and the dodge recovery function when you get hit. Do note that the fusion damage bonus and fusion resistance ignore depends on the number of fusion characters in your team. Make sure to use 3 fusion characters if you want maximum benefits, but it's not an absolute must for her to still be usable. Once she's swapped out, she will trigger a follow-up attack for every ally's liberation. And once you finish your rotation with true intro skill triggered by your allies, you can trigger Lupa's intro skill now for significantly good damage. Similar to how Shorekeeper works with her intro skill. If you activate her whole kit, you're looking at a team-wide 59% fusion damage bonus, 15% fusion resistance ignore, and 18% attack buff. That is still not including the fusion and basic damage bonus on her outro skill, but that is only for the incoming resonator, not for the whole team. Doesn't mean it's bad, just keep that in mind, alright? Now that you understand how she works generally, let's take a look at her echoes. For the set, go for the obvious new set, Flaming Claw Print. It further increases your whole team's fusion damage by 15%, and the activation criteria is matched for Lupa perfectly. Just gotta click her ultimate. For the echoes themselves, go for the 4-3-3-1-1 setup, and use the cost 4 Lioness of Glory as the main echo. For the main stats, go for crit rate, crit damage on the cost 4, fusion bonus or attack percent on your cost 3s, but do keep in mind, the best performing pair would be 1 fusion damage, 1 attack percent on the cost 3. However, the difference is very minor, so go for whichever you have the best substats of. Finally, go for the obvious attack percent cost 1 echoes. As for substats priority, go for crit rate, crit damage, then attack percent, then resonance liberation damage, and then flat attack. Here's a side note, your energy regen will have different requirements based on the team you use her in. A very stable threshold for any teams would be 120% energy regen from your substats, but do aim for at least 110, which shouldn't be hard. Moving on, let's take a look at the weapon. Obviously, her signature is the best one, again with another team-wide damage bonus of 24%. And yeah, it is the only weapon of this type that has this sort of unique team-wide buffing capability, which makes it perfect for Lupa since that's her whole shtick, but this also means her alternatives are mostly helping her own damage rather than the team's. Not as ideal for Lupa. But yeah, if we're talking about alternatives, you can go for GN's weapon, Verdant Summit, Jinxi's weapon, Ages of Harvest, or the good old standard 5-star weapon, Lustrous Razor. They're not all too different from each other in terms of performance, but certainly pales in comparison to her own signature. If you look further down for 4 stars, you can consider Autumn Trace or Waning Redshift, but honestly, they are not too ideal. Try and at least use the standard 5-star if you can. Continuing on, let's take a look at her skill upgrades. Obviously, get both her inherent skill first, then intro skill equal to resonance liberation, then forte circuit, then normal attack equals to resonance skill. Now then, let's get into her team comps. Her best team will be the triple fusion team to maximize all her buffs. We have Lupa, Brant, and Changli. And here we have the combo. Do follow along if you're interested. Start with Lupa and use her skill twice, then use her echo, and then her liberation, followed by 5 total normal attacks. This is where you will max out your forte and enhance them with the wolf icon. After that, your enhanced skill is available. Click it and you should have your Concerto max along with your ult regenerated to a good amount. Then trigger Brand's intro skill. Use his ultimate, then 3 basic attacks where you will land on ground. Then use his resonance skill. This is where he should max his forte, and after that use enhanced resonance skill. Make sure he lands on ground and then end with his echo. After that, trigger Chong-Li's intro skill. Start with a basic attack to gain 1 bar of forte, then charged attack to land on ground. After that, use 3 basic attacks to get another bar of forte, then use her skill into a basic twice, which gains a total of 2 bars of forte. Now that you have it maxed, use a charged attack to deal good damage. Then use your ultimate that recharges your forte fully. Once you do that, use your charged attack again for the most damage output. Once that's done, trigger Lupa's intro skill, which does really solid damage. Repeat the same combo again, and that is all. This is the most logical team for Lupa as it maximizes Lupa's buff, but the issue remains where the damage output of the characters of this team isn't quite the highest, unless you're willing to dive really deep into animation cancelling, swap cancelling, which are possible but very difficult to pull off consistently. But do not worry, this team is still solid, just not at the level of insane creatures like Kartetia, right? Moving on, let's take a look at alternative teams, which the most accessible one being Lupa, Shorekeeper / Verena, and any fusion damage dealer. And by that I mean you can use Chong-Li, Brand, Encore, or even Chi-Xiao for the DPS slot. In this setup, you will start with Verena / Shorekeeper and basically play like any classic Shorekeeper buff team, with Lupa being your sub DPS to activate your main fusion DPS that stands on field to destroy everything. This setup is not as strong as the triple fusion team with Lupa, but it's actually not that bad at all, which means even if you don't have Brand and Chong-Li both together, you can still enjoy what Lupa is able to provide, but you must have at least 1 fusion DPS though. That's the criteria. Moving up next will be your resonance chains. I'll start with the conclusion. If you simply want Lupa to play in a triple fusion team, prioritize her weapon and not her resonance chains. The reason being, her duplicates mostly buff her own damage output. While Lupa is a pretty decent S2 that allows the whole team to get even more fusion damage bonus, a lot of her other resonance chain are gonna boost her own damage rather than the team's. Now if you're a big Lupa main, aiming for S2 first is a good start, but I also do recommend going for S3 and S4 if you really do love her a lot. If you just want a really good chunk of damage increase for your entire team with Lupa, then going for S2 should suffice. And to take a look, her S3 increases her intro skills damage by 100%, which is a big chunk of Lupa's damage output. Not to mention, her liberations buffs no longer require 3 fusion characters. It helps if you're using non-mono fusion teams, opening up more options for her team building. For S4, it is the most straightforward increase, where her damage multiplier of an enhanced skill is just increased by 125%. That is a huge increase, and yup, you'll see Lupa dump in crazy damage more consistently now at S4. If you get her S6, which does a lot, ranging from ignoring 30% defense on her hard-hitting intro skill to making her buff stick around even after her own intro skill is used, which overall just means more damage for Lupa. At this level, you can consider her as a main DPS if you want to. She will be good enough even for that. And with all that covered, let's conclude on Lupa as a character. I recommend pulling her if you wish to play a mono fusion team in the current meta, or if you're willing to bank on future fusion characters that may improve the overall performance of the mono fusion team. I also recommend pulling her if you just love her cute yet psychotic smile. Now the reasoning behind this is that you can beat everything with or without Lupa, obviously. There are other teams in this version that you may have pulled for that already works more than stellar, like Kartetia or Zaddy. Forcing yourself to get Lupa in the name of meta does not really make sense, but if you do whip out her best team, she will still be able to do you well. And do not worry, in my opinion, there's a big chance she will be a staple in the majority of fusion teams in the future whenever they do release a fusion character. She is like the shorekeeper of the fusion team after all, and we all know how good team buffers are in this game. Now that will be the case unless they straight release new mechanics with fusion characters, right? Who knows what will happen. But hey, in the end, remember, that is just my opinion. Feel free to do whatever you like. I personally would always stick to the rule of thumb of going for team buffers first with a DPS that you have in mind. And if the DPS ends up being, say, a fusion encore, for example, then Lupa becomes a solid pull. And yeah, that will be all for today, and I hope I helped you out. Good luck getting Lupa if you're going for her, and that is all. Take care!